So today I'm talking to Joyce in County Wicklow, one of our clients, about her experience of having a live-in carer. Hello, Joyce.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm very good. And you?
Great, thanks.
So, Joyce, how did you come across ALHomecare in the first place?
Okay, well, originally I was aware that my father was needing some sort of care. I had originally had foreign language students living with him, but it got to the point where I realised he was needing something more. I went online to see what was available and happened upon the ALHomecare website. So I gave you a buzz and I got to talk to a lovely lady called Eileen. And what I liked about ALHomecare and Eileen was that she didn't put me under any pressure to sign up immediately. She listened to my story, my concerns, and she was just so understanding and pleasant, and said she would send me on information, which she did. And that's how I happened upon you in the first place, because I'd been looking at other agencies and they really were prohibitive in their pricing, because I wanted someone to be staying with my dad overnight. And most of the agents seemed to be on an hourly rate, and it just wasn't going to be possible. So that's how I happened upon you.
So what has it been like, Joyce, having a live-in carer?
Transformative is the word I would use. It has been transformative. It took a lot of the worry out of my dad's care. Overnight, I didn't need to worry about him. You know, sometimes in the past, his burglar alarm would go off and I'd live an hour away from him, so I'd have to get in the car and go over and see what was happening. With a live-in carer, all of that, all those concerns were gone. I knew if I didn't hear from her that he was fine, and that really made a huge difference to me.
So how long have you had a live-in carer now, Joyce?
We've had a live-in carer, well, the present lady has been with us for a year. And prior to that, prior to the lockdown, we had another ALHomecare carer for a year. In between that, COVID came, lockdown came. Our Italian carer had to return to Italy. My father subsequently, at the same time, was in hospital having had a fall. So when she went, I had nobody. And I then was fortunate to get a local girl who'd been minding someone near where my dad was. She moved in. And what I'm really wanting to say is that the difference between having an ALHomecare carer and somebody that I was employing myself was very different. I no longer felt protected because I feel very safe with your agency. The carers have to fill a timesheet in. They have to say what hours they're working. I just felt that with the girl that I was employing myself, I didn't have that sort of backup of the agency saying that these are the hours she's worked. The carer that I was employing myself, I just felt that she could have come back and said, you made me work a lot extra hours than I was. Whereas the agency makes sure that the carer is looked after and that the family are looked after. That to me was very important, having an agency. So once that girl left, I was back with ALHomecare and lockdown had passed and we were back in business and it was great.
Joyce, what advice would you give to a family who might be struggling right now with the care needs of their elderly relative?
I would say get on the phone to Tom immediately. It really, having a carer with an elderly parent, it just makes a huge difference. And your carers, Tom, have been really the ones I've had, and I've recommended your agency on to other friends, and they've had a great experience with ALHomecare as well. So I would say definitely get in touch with you, Tom, and get the process up and running.
Joyce, it's fairly common that an elderly person will resist to some extent the idea of a live-in carer. Did you find any resistance with your dad to the idea of having a live-in carer?
Huge resistance. He's quite a private man. He's a shy man. He didn't like the thought of having to sit talking to someone, a stranger in his house. he felt that getting a carer in would mean there would suddenly be a bossy boots in the house, that she would be, he would no longer be top of the pecking order, and he didn't like any of that. So we had to sort of, I don't know, it was a difficult one to get around because he really felt all of those things very strongly. So what I had to sort of sit him down and talk about was that I said, Dad, you're thinking of this carer as a stranger. So she won't be a stranger. Once she's been here for a couple of days, she'll no longer be a stranger. I said, you've had people come into the house before, and you know that with time they become people that you like, people that you know, people that you enjoy. ALHomecare, they will give you a 3-week trial. So we're not saying this lady's going to come, and if you don't like her, that we're going to keep her. She mightn't like you, that it goes both ways. So there's a trial from both sides. And if you're not happy, Dad, I absolutely promise you, we will not keep her. And, you know, I sort of pointed out that it would be nice to have someone cooking his meals, someone taking him out for drives, if we got a lady that could drive, and that sort of thing. And he agreed very reluctantly to give it a go. And from the moment the first carer came into the house, there was no problem. It just worked. They, you know, because it's a friendly face. Somebody comes in, they smile, they give him so much attention. They're interested in all his stories that we've all grown tired of. And he felt that he was helping them with their learning English. He suddenly had a very important role. You know, he's just really, really enjoyed having someone in the house. And I think, to be honest, he feels a lot safer. He's certainly a lot happier. He was getting, you know, lonely, and having had this new person in the house has made all the difference. So yes, an elderly parent might be reluctant, but when they meet the friendly person, honestly, they forget about that. And the other thing I promised him was that he wouldn't have to sit, the carer wouldn't need to be in the living room with him watching TV or that. I said, she'll have her own room, she'll have her laptop. You know, Dad, I said, they don't want to sit watching TV because, you know, it's not relevant to them a lot of the time. So you'll have that space in the evening. So once he knew that was great. Let me tell you, the carer sits and watches TV with him every evening. He loves it. In fact, he'd wonder where she was if she wasn't there with him now. That's how it's worked out for my very, very reluctant father. So I'd say to people, that's really, for me anyway, having watched the transformation of my father, I'd say that's not actually a concern. It will work out.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much, Joyce. That's very reassuring.
Yeah.
So, Joyce, thank you so much for your time today.
Can I say one other thing, Tom?
Yes.
Just a couple of things that I want to say. One is my father has a dog, and if we hadn't been able to get a carer in, like my father at this point would need nursing home care. I don't know what would have happened to his dog, and that relationship would have been broken, because he's very, very fond of his dog. So the dog says thank you as well, Tom, for the carer, because without her, he would have had to be rehomed.
Yes, and that's a very good point, Joyce. That's a very good point.
And the other thing, very quickly, that I wanted to say was, which was really important to me, I asked our carer how she found the agency, because I didn't want, you know, because it is good value, and they're coming from overseas, and I just wanted to be sure that she was being treated well. Not that I didn't trust you, Tom, but just I wanted to be sure. So I asked her how she finds ALHomecare from a carer's point of view, and she said fantastic. So, you know, to me, that's the complete package. We're happy, she's happy, my dad's happy, and the dog's happy. So there we are.
Great, Joyce. Well, that's wonderful to hear that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Joyce, for taking the time to talk to me. And I'm sure, you know, your words will be a great reassurance to a lot of families who are uncertain as to what is the next step in the care for their elderly relative.
Yeah, my heart goes out to them, because it is it's a really daunting phase. And but I have to say, I want to thank you, Tom, really from the bottom of my heart, for how kind all your staff have been to deal with. Yourself in particular, you've been great. It's not often you get to talk to the main man when you have a query or whatever, and you've always been very available, and you've never left me waiting. You get back to me very quickly. So I just want to thank you and your team for their support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you too, Joyce.
Okay, righto, Tom. All the best.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye now. Bye.